It was just another quiet Tuesday night for David. He sat at his computer, finishing up some work projects while sipping his third cup of coffee. The city lights twinkled outside his apartment window, and everything felt normal and peaceful. His small apartment on the 5th floor had always been his safe space. Away from the busy world below. David had lived alone for 2 years now. He liked the quiet life. Wake up, go to work, come home, watch some TV, and sleep. Nothing exciting ever happened, and that was exactly how he preferred it. His friends always told him he needed more adventure in his life. But David was happy with his routine. The clock on his desk showed 11:30 p.m. He was about to close his laptop and head to bed when he heard a strange noise outside. It sounded like someone was climbing the fire escape. David frowned and walked toward his bedroom window. The building was old, and sometimes cats would climb around outside, but this sounded different, heavier. Suddenly, his window burst open with a loud crash. The glass didn't break, but the force was so strong that David jumped backward. Cold night air rushed into his warm room. Before he could understand what was happening, a young woman tumbled through the window and fell onto his bedroom floor. David's heart nearly stopped. The woman was completely without clothes, shivering so badly that her whole body was shaking. Her hair was messy and wet from the rain that had started earlier. She had small cuts on her arms and legs, and her eyes looked wild with fear. She looked around his room like a scared animal, breathing heavily. "Please," she whispered, her voice so quiet he could barely hear her. "Please help me. I'm so cold. Please don't hurt me." David stood frozen for a moment. His mind couldn't process what he was seeing. This was like something from a movie, not real life. The woman curled up on his floor, trying to cover herself with her hands. She was shaking so much that David worried she might be seriously hurt. His shock lasted only a few seconds before his human instincts took over. This was a person in trouble, and she needed help immediately. David quickly grabbed a thick blanket from his bed and wrapped it around the woman's shoulders. "It's okay," he said softly, trying not to scare her more. "You're safe now. I'm not going to hurt you." The woman looked up at him with big, frightened eyes. She seemed surprised by his gentle voice. David could see that she was probably around his age, maybe younger. Her face was dirty, and there were dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. "I need to call for help," David said carefully. "You need a doctor. Are you hurt badly?" The woman shook her head quickly. "No police," she said urgently. "Please, no police yet. They'll find me." David didn't understand what she meant, but he could see the terror in her eyes. "Okay, no police right now, but I need to call someone. You're really cold, and those cuts need to be looked at." He helped her sit on his bed, keeping the blanket wrapped around her. David's mind was racing. How did this happen? Why did she climb through his window? Who was she running from? But those questions could wait right now. This woman needed medical attention. David called his neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, who used to be a nurse. She lived just down the hall and had always been kind to him. When she answered her phone, David tried to explain the situation without giving too many details. "I have someone here who's been hurt and needs help. Can you come over? She's scared and cold." Mrs. Johnson arrived within 5 minutes, carrying a medical kit and some extra clothes. She was a small, older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. When she saw the young woman on David's bed, she didn't ask any questions. She just started helping. "What's your name, honey?" Mrs. Johnson asked gently as she checked the woman's injuries. "Luna," the woman whispered. It was the first time David had heard her name. Mrs. Johnson cleaned Luna's cuts and gave her some warm tea. The cuts weren't deep, but they needed to be treated properly. Luna slowly started to warm up under the blankets, though she was still shaking. "These injuries aren't as serious," Mrs. Johnson told David quietly, "but she's been through something terrible. Look at her eyes. This girl has seen things no one should see." David nodded. He could see that Luna was traumatized by something. The way she jumped at every small sound. How she kept looking at the window like she expected someone to follow her. Whatever she was running from must have been really bad after Mrs. Johnson left. David sat in a chair across from his bed where Luna was resting. He didn't want to make her uncomfortable by being too close, but he also didn't want to leave her alone. "Luna," he said softly, "you don't have to tell me anything right now, but you're safe here. No one is going to hurt you." Luna looked at him for a long time, as if trying to decide whether she could trust him. Finally, she spoke. "I escaped," she said simply. "I've been trying to get away for so long. When I saw your light on, I thought, maybe someone would help me." David felt a chill that had nothing to do with the open window. Escape from what? Luna's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't answer. She just pulled the blanket tight around herself and closed her eyes. David realized that this night had changed everything. His quiet, predictable life was about to become something completely different. But looking at this brave woman who had risked everything to climb through his window seeking help, he knew he couldn't turn away. Whatever Luna was running from, whatever had happened to her, David was going to help her figure it out. He didn't know how yet, but he was certain of one thing. Luna had come to his window for a reason, and he wasn't going to let her down. As the night went on, David stayed awake, watching over Luna as she finally fell into an exhausted sleep. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the city clean. Inside his small apartment, two strangers had found each other in the most unexpected way possible. David had no idea that this moment would change both of their lives forever. The next morning came slowly. David had barely slept, spending most of the night in his chair, making sure Luna was okay. Every hour or so, she would wake up startled, looking around the room like she forgot where she was. Each time, David would speak softly to remind her she was safe. When sunlight finally came through the window, Luna sat up carefully. She looked better after getting some rest, but David could still see the fear in her eyes. Mrs. Johnson had left some clothes the night before, and Luna was wearing an old sweater and pants that were a bit too big for her. "How are you feeling?" David asked gently. Luna looked at him for a moment, then spoke quietly. "Better. Thank you for helping me. Most people would have called the police right away." David made some coffee and toast, placing it on a small table near the bed. "You said not to call them. I figured you had a good reason." Luna picked at the toast, eating small bites. It seemed like she hadn't eaten properly in a long time. "I did have a reason, but I think I need to tell someone what happened. I can't keep running forever." Over the next few hours, Luna began to share her story. She spoke slowly, sometimes stopping to take deep breaths or wipe away tears. David listened without interrupting, though what he heard made his stomach turn. Luna had grown up in a small town 3 hours away. Her family didn't have much money, and when she turned 18, she saw an advertisement for a job in the city. The ad promised good pay, a place to live, and legitimate work at a restaurant. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to help her family and start a new life. "When I got to the city, everything was different," Luna explained. "The people who met me weren't the same ones from the phone calls. They took my identification papers, saying they needed to keep them safe. They put me in a small room with 3 other girls." David's hands clenched into fists as Luna continued. "The restaurant job didn't exist. Instead, Luna and the other girls were forced to work in terrible conditions, never allowed to leave the building freely. They were told they owed money for their transportation, food, and housing. The debt kept growing no matter how much they worked. There were guards watching us all the time," Luna said. "They moved us between different buildings every few weeks, so we couldn't get familiar with any area. Some girls had been there for years. They had given up hope of ever leaving." Luna explained how she had started planning her escape months ago. She was good at listening and remembering details. Slowly, she learned the patterns of when guards changed shifts, which doors were locked at what times, and how the buildings were connected. "I knew I only had one chance," she said. "If they caught me trying to escape, they would make things much worse for me and probably move all of us to a different location." The night she escaped, Luna had waited for the perfect moment. During a shift change, she managed to slip out of her room and make it to the roof. She had to leave everything behind, including her clothes, because any delay could mean getting caught. I was so scared. Luna admitted, I was on that roof in the cold, and I didn't know which way to go. Then I saw your window with the light on. You looked like you were just working on your computer, living a normal life. I thought maybe, just maybe, you might be someone who would help instead of hurt. David felt overwhelmed by Luna's courage. You saved yourself. That was incredibly brave. Luna shook her head. I was just desperate. But I keep thinking about the other girls who are still there. They don't know I escaped yet. But when they find out, things might get worse for everyone. This thought seemed to weigh heavily on Luna. She had gained her freedom, but she knew others were still trapped. David could see the guilt in her expression. We need to contact the authorities, David said carefully, not to get you in trouble, but to help the others. Luna nodded slowly. I know. I've been thinking about that all night. But I'm scared they won't believe me, or that I'll say something wrong and the bad people will just move locations before anyone can help, David thought. About this, Luna was right to be worried. This was bigger than anything he had ever dealt with. But he also knew they couldn't just ignore what was happening to other people. What if we found someone who specializes in these kinds of cases? David suggested. Someone who knows how to handle these situations properly. Luna looked hopeful. For the first time since she had arrived, you would help me with that, of course. David said without hesitation, you came to my window asking for help, and I'm not going to stop helping now. That afternoon, David made some phone calls. He contacted a legal aid organization that helped people in difficult situations. They connected him with a social worker named Alex who had experience with cases like Luna's. When Alex arrived at David's apartment, Luna was nervous but determined. Alex was a calm, professional person who immediately made Luna feel more comfortable. They explained that Luna's situation was unfortunately not uncommon, and that there were systems in place to help both Luna and the other people who might still be trapped. The most important thing is your safety, Alex told Luna. We'll work together to make sure you're protected while we figure out the best way to help others. Luna spent the rest of the day talking with Alex, providing as much detail as she could remember about locations, people, and routines. David stayed nearby, offering support when Luna needed breaks from the difficult conversations. By evening, they had developed a plan. Luna would work with law enforcement, but she would have legal protection and wouldn't be treated as a criminal. The focus would be on helping other victims and stopping the people responsible for these crimes. As Alex prepared to leave, they turned to David. What you did was really important. Luna needed someone to believe her and support her. That's not always easy to find. After Alex left, Luna and David sat quietly in his living room. The day had been emotionally exhausting for both of them, but there was also a sense of hope that hadn't been there before. Thank you, Luna said simply, for everything, for helping me, for believing me, for not treating me like I was crazy. David looked at this brave young woman who had completely changed his perspective on the world. Thank you for trusting me enough to tell me what happened. Luna smiled for the first time since she had climbed through his window. It was a small smile, but it was real. What happens now? Luna asked. Now we take it one day at a time, David replied. We work with Alex and the authorities to help other people, and we make sure you have everything you need to build the life you deserve. Luna nodded, and for the first time in months, she felt like she had a real future to look forward to. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she wasn't walking it alone anymore. The next few days brought a whirlwind of activity that David never could have imagined. His quiet apartment had become a hub of careful planning and preparation. Detective Lisa Chen, a specialist in organized crime cases, had joined their team. She was a serious woman with kind eyes who had been working these types of cases for over 10 years. Luna spent hours with Detective Chen and Alex, going over every detail she could remember. They used maps of the city, and Luna tried to identify buildings and locations. Sometimes she would get frustrated when she couldn't remember something clearly. But Detective Chen was patient and encouraging. You're doing great, the detective would say. Every piece of information helps, even if it seems small to you. David found himself learning about a world he never knew existed. Detective Chen explained that these criminal operations were more common than most people realized, and they often moved frequently to avoid detection. Luna's information was valuable because she had been observant and had a good memory for details. The challenge is timing, Detective Chen explained to David during one of their planning sessions. If we move too quickly without enough evidence, they might scatter. If we wait too long, they might move locations anyway, or Luna might be in danger if they realize she's missing. During this time, David noticed changes in Luna. The constant fear in her eyes was slowly being replaced by determination. She was eating better and sleeping more peacefully. She had also started helping with small tasks around David's apartment, insisting that she wanted to contribute rather than just accepting help. "I want to do something useful," Luna told David one morning as she helped prepare breakfast. "For so long, I felt powerless. Now I want to help make sure this doesn't happen to other people." David admired Luna's strength. Despite everything she had been through, she was focused on helping others rather than just on her own recovery. It made him think about his own life and how he had been so focused on his comfortable routine that he had never really considered what was happening to other people in his own city. The investigation was moving forward, but it was complicated. Detective Chen's team had to be very careful about gathering evidence without alerting the criminals. They used Luna's information to identify several possible locations, but they needed to confirm which ones were currently being used. "We're getting close," Detective Chen told them during one of their meetings. "Luna's descriptions have helped us narrow down the search area. We think we've identified the main building, but we need to be absolutely sure before we act." Luna was nervous about what would happen when the police moved in. What if something goes wrong? What if they don't find the other girls? Or what if someone gets hurt? Detective Chen understood Luna's concerns. "I won't lie to you. There are always risks in these operations. But we have a good team, and we've been planning carefully. The most important thing is that we're not just trying to shut down one location. We want to catch the people in charge and stop the whole operation." David could see that Luna was struggling with mixed emotions. She wanted to help the other victims, but she also felt guilty about the risks involved. He tried to support her by reminding her that she had already shown incredible courage, and that whatever happened next, she had given the authorities the best chance to help people. As the investigation continued, David's own life had changed completely. He had taken time off work to help Luna and participate in the planning process. His co-workers didn't understand why he was suddenly unavailable, and his friends were confused about his mysterious absence from their usual activities. But David didn't mind. He had discovered that helping Luna gave his life a sense of purpose he had never felt before. His quiet, predictable routine seemed trivial compared to the important work they were doing. One evening, as they waited for updates from Detective Chen's team, Luna and David talked about the future. "What do you want to do after all this is over?" David asked. Luna thought for a moment. "I want to finish school. I never got to complete my education, and maybe I want to work with people who help others in situations like mine. I think my experience could be useful." David nodded. "That sounds like a perfect plan. You'd be good at that kind of work." "What about you?" Luna asked. "Has this changed what you want to do with your life?" David had been thinking about that question a lot lately. "Yeah, it has. I used to think that keeping to myself and staying out of trouble was the best way to live. But now I realize that there are people who need help, and if we don't help them, who will?" Luna smiled. "You've already helped more than you know. You saved my life that night. But you also gave me hope that there are good people in the world." The next morning, Detective Chen called with news. "We're ready to move. The operation will happen tonight. Luna, you won't be anywhere near the scene. But we wanted you to know that this is happening because of your courage." Luna felt a mixture of excitement and fear. After months of planning, the moment had finally come. That night, she and David waited in his apartment, knowing that across the city, Detective Chen's team was working to rescue the people Luna had left behind. The waiting was almost unbearable. Luna paced around the apartment, unable to sit still. David tried to keep her calm by making tea and talking about other topics. But they both knew that everything would change based on what happened that night. Finally, at nearly midnight, Detective Chen called. "We got them," she said simply. 17 people rescued, including the girls Luna described. The main organizers are in custody. "It's over." Luna collapsed onto David's couch, crying with relief. David sat beside her, feeling amazed by what they had accomplished together. The next few days brought media attention and legal proceedings. But also something more important. Luna got to speak with some of the people who had been rescued. Knowing that her escape had led to their freedom gave her a sense of closure she hadn't expected. "You saved us," one of the girls told Luna during a meeting arranged by Alex. "We thought no one would ever find us." Luna realized that her decision to climb through David's window hadn't just saved her own life, it had saved many lives. And David realized that sometimes the most important moments in life come when you're least expecting them. The weeks that followed the rescue operation were both wonderful and challenging for Luna and David. While they celebrated the successful mission, Luna found herself facing new struggles she hadn't expected. The excitement of helping others was quickly replaced by difficult emotions that she couldn't easily push away. Luna started having nightmares almost every night. She would wake up screaming, thinking she was back in that terrible place. Sometimes she would forget where she was and panic when she saw David's apartment. The memories of her captivity seemed to come back stronger than ever. Now that the immediate danger was over, "I don't understand," Luna told Alex during one of their therapy sessions. "I thought I would feel better now that everyone is safe. Why do I feel worse?" Alex explained that this was completely normal. When you were focused on escaping and helping others, your mind was in survival mode. Now that you're safe, your brain is finally processing all the trauma you experienced. It's actually a sign that you're healing. David watched Luna struggle and felt helpless. He wanted to fix everything for her, but he was learning that healing from trauma wasn't something that could be rushed or solved quickly. Some days Luna would seem like her old self, laughing and making plans for the future. Other days, she could barely get out of bed. The legal process was also more difficult than they had expected. Luna had to testify in court multiple times, reliving her experiences in front of strangers. The defense lawyers asked her detailed questions about her captivity, sometimes making her feel like they didn't believe her story. "Why didn't you try to escape sooner?" one lawyer asked during a particularly difficult day in court. Luna looked at the man with tired eyes. "Because I was scared. Because they told us they would hurt our families if we tried to leave. Because when you're trapped and afraid, you don't always make the choices that seem obvious to people who have never been in that situation." David sat in the courtroom every day, offering silent support. He could see how much these sessions cost Luna emotionally, but he also saw her incredible strength as she answered every question honestly and completely. Detective Chen kept them updated on how the case was progressing. "The evidence is strong," she told them. "Luna's testimony, combined with what the other survivors have shared, is building a solid case. These people won't be able to hurt anyone else." But the legal process was slow. Months passed with hearings, delays, and paperwork. Luna grew frustrated with how long everything was taking. She wanted closure so she could move forward with her life. But the constant court appearances kept pulling her back into the past. During this time, David made a decision that surprised even himself. He quit his job in software development and started working for the organization that had first helped Luna. He wanted to use his skills to help other survivors rebuild their lives. "Are you sure about this?" Luna asked when David told her about his career change. "You had a good job. You don't need to change your whole life because of what happened to me." David smiled at her. "I'm not changing my life because of what happened to you. I'm changing it because of what I learned from you. You showed me that there are more important things than a comfortable routine." Luna felt touched by David's decision, but also guilty. "I feel like I've turned your whole world upside down." "You have," David admitted, "but in the best possible way." I was sleepwalking through life before. Now I feel like I'm actually living. As the months went by, Luna began to heal slowly but steadily. She started taking classes to get her high school diploma, something she had always wanted to complete. She also began volunteering with the organization where David worked, helping other survivors navigate the legal system and find resources. Working with other survivors was both healing and challenging for Luna. She met people who had experienced similar situations, and she found comfort in knowing she wasn't alone. But she also saw how different everyone's healing process was, and sometimes she felt frustrated with her own progress. Some days I feel strong and ready to help everyone, Luna told her therapist. Other days I can't even handle my own problems. How can I help other people when I still have so many issues myself? Her therapist, Dr. Williams, smiled kindly. Healing isn't linear, Luna. You don't have to be completely healed to help others. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is your understanding of what they're going through. One day, Luna received a letter from one of the girls who had been rescued during the operation. The girl, named Sophia, wrote about how Luna's bravery had given her hope during her darkest moments. When the police told us that someone had escaped and led them to us, I couldn't believe it. Sophia wrote, I had given up thinking anyone would ever find us. But you proved that escape was possible. You saved all of us. Reading Sophia's letter made Luna cry, but these were good tears. For the first time since her rescue, she felt truly proud of what she had accomplished. She realized that her healing journey wasn't just about getting better for herself. It was about becoming strong, enough to help others who were still fighting similar battles. The trial finally concluded almost a year after Luna's escape. The main organizers of the criminal operation were sentenced to long prison terms, and the judge praised Luna and the other survivors for their courage in testifying. Your bravery has not only brought justice for yourselves, the judge said, but has also prevented countless other people from becoming victims. After the trial ended, Luna felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. The legal process was finally over, and she could focus entirely on building her new life. That evening, David and Luna sat in his apartment, the same place where their journey had begun. Luna looked around the room that had been her sanctuary. For so many months, I've been thinking, Luna said, I want to go back to school. But not just to get my diploma. I want to study social work and maybe law. I want to become someone who can help people like us navigate these situations. David nodded enthusiastically. That sounds perfect. You'd be amazing at that kind of work. I also want to speak publicly about what happened, Luna continued. I think people need to understand that this problem exists in their own communities. Maybe if more people know what to look for, they can help someone else who needs it. David felt proud of how far Luna had come. The scared, desperate woman who had climbed through his window was now a confident advocate who wanted to dedicate her life to helping others. There's something else, Luna said, looking a bit nervous. I want to get my own apartment soon. Not because I don't appreciate everything you've done, but because I need to prove to myself that I can live independently. David understood completely. Of course, that's a big step, and I'm proud of you for being ready to take it. But I also want you to know, Luna added, that you'll always be one of the most important people in my life. You saved me in every way a person can be saved. David felt emotional hearing Luna's words. Their relationship had evolved from stranger helping stranger, to friends supporting each other through crisis, to something deeper and more meaningful than either had expected. You saved me too, David told her. You showed me what real courage looks like, and you taught me that one person really can make a difference in the world. As they sat together that night, both Luna and David reflected on how much their lives had changed since that unexpected night when she had crashed through his window. They had both discovered strength they didn't know they had, and they had learned that sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unlikely circumstances. Luna was ready to start the next chapter of her life, but she knew that the foundation of courage and compassion she had built with David would support her no matter where her journey led. 2 years had passed since that life-changing night when Luna climbed through David's window. The small apartment that had once been David's quiet refuge had become something entirely different. A place where healing happened and new dreams were born. Luna now had her own apartment just a few blocks away from David's place. It was small but bright, with plants on the windowsill and books scattered everywhere. She had completed her high school diploma and was now in her second year of college, studying social work with a focus on helping survivors of difficult situations. Every morning, Luna would wake up, in her own bed, in her own space, and feel grateful for the simple freedom of making her own choices. Some mornings were still hard. The memories didn't just disappear, but she had learned how to manage the difficult days and celebrate the good ones. David had also transformed his life completely. He now worked as a program coordinator for the Survivor Support Organization, using his technical skills to improve their systems and help more people access services. His quiet, predictable life had become busy and meaningful, filled with purpose he had never imagined possible. The two of them had maintained their close friendship, meeting regularly for coffee and supporting each other through both challenges and successes. Their bond had deepened into something beautiful and unique, not romantic love, but something equally powerful, a connection forged through shared experience and mutual respect. On this particular morning, Luna was preparing for something special. She had been invited to speak at a national conference about helping survivors rebuild their lives. It would be her first time addressing such a large audience, and she felt both excited and nervous. "I keep thinking about what I want to say," Luna told David as they sat in her favorite coffee shop near campus. "How do you explain to people what it's like to lose everything and then find yourself again?" David smiled at her. "You don't have to explain everything in one speech. Just tell them what you think they need to know." Luna had become a powerful advocate in the 2 years since her rescue. She worked part-time at the Survivor Support Organization while attending school, and she had helped dozens of people navigate their own healing journeys. Her combination of personal experience and natural compassion made her incredibly effective at her work. "Sometimes I can't believe this is my life now," Luna said, looking around the busy coffee shop. 2 years ago, I thought I would never be able to sit in a place like this, surrounded by normal people living normal lives." "But now you're not just living a normal life," David pointed out. "You're living an extraordinary one. You're helping people in ways that most of us never could." Luna had also reconnected with her family during her healing process. With the help of her therapist and social worker, she had been able to contact her parents and explain what had happened to her. The reunion had been emotional and complicated, but ultimately healing for everyone involved. Her parents had felt guilty for not realizing she was in danger when she first left for the city. Luna had to help them understand that the criminals who had trapped her were experts at deception, and that no one could have predicted what would happen. "My mom still calls me every day." Luna laughed. "She's afraid something will happen if we don't talk regularly. I keep telling her I'm safe now, but I think it will take time for her to really believe it." David understood this completely. Even he sometimes worried about Luna, though he tried not to be overprotective. The experience had taught both of them that life could change dramatically and without warning, but it had also shown them how resilient people could be. Luna's work at the organization had led to several other success stories. She had helped develop new programs for survivors, including support groups and educational workshops. Her insight into what survivors really needed had improved the organization's effectiveness significantly. "There's something I want to tell you," Luna said, looking excited. "Remember Sophia, the girl who wrote me that letter after the trial?" David nodded. Sophia had been one of the people rescued during the operation that followed Luna's escape. "She just got accepted to nursing school," Luna continued. "She wants to work in emergency care, helping people who come into hospitals in crisis situations." She said our conversation about finding purpose in our experiences inspired her to pursue that dream. David felt proud but not surprised. Luna's influence on other survivors had been remarkable to watch. She had a gift for helping people see their own strength and potential. That's amazing, David said, but not surprising. You have a way of helping people believe in themselves. As they finished their coffee, Luna pulled out her phone and showed David the notes for her upcoming speech. I've been thinking about how to end it, she said. I want to leave people with something hopeful, but also realistic. Healing is hard work, and it's not the same for everyone. David read through her notes and felt impressed by Luna's thoughtfulness. She had developed into a skilled speaker who could balance honesty about difficult experiences with hope for the future. What if you end with the idea that everyone has the potential to be someone's lifeline? David suggested, like how I happened to be at my computer that night when you needed help. Most people don't realize they might be in a position to help someone in crisis. Luna's eyes lit up. That's perfect, because it's true. You were just living your normal life, but you became the person who saved me. Maybe there are other people out there who could help someone if they just knew what to look for. The day of the conference arrived, and Luna felt nervous but ready. David accompanied her to the event, not because she needed him there, but because he wanted to support her and hear what she had to say. Luna took the stage in front of nearly 1,000 people: social workers, law enforcement officers, healthcare providers, and community leaders. She wore a simple blue dress and spoke without notes. Her voice clear and confident, she told her story honestly but carefully, focusing on her recovery and the people who had helped her rather than the details of her trauma. She talked about the importance of believing survivors, providing comprehensive support, and understanding that healing takes time. 2 years ago, I climbed through a stranger's window in the middle of the night, Luna said as she neared the end of her speech. I was desperate and scared, and I had no idea if the person inside would help me or hurt me. But that stranger, who became my friend David, made a choice in that moment to help rather than turn away. David felt emotional listening to Luna speak so eloquently about their shared experience. The truth is, Luna continued, we all have opportunities to be that person for someone else, maybe not as dramatically as David was for me, but in small ways every day, when we choose compassion over judgment, when we believe people who tell us they need help, when we take the time to really see the people around us, we become part of the solution. Luna concluded her speech by talking about hope and resilience, but also about the ongoing work that needed to be done to help survivors and prevent others from experiencing similar situations. The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted several minutes afterward. Dozens of people approached Luna to thank her for her courage and to ask how they could get involved in helping survivors in their own communities. That evening, as Luna and David sat in her apartment celebrating the success of her speech, they reflected on how far they had both come. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I had climbed through someone else's window? That night, Luna asked, David considered this. I think you would have found a way to survive no matter what. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met, but I might not have become the person I am now. Luna said, you didn't just save my life, you helped me discover who I could become. Luna had indeed become someone remarkable. She was still healing, still working through the effects of her traumatic experiences. But she had transformed her pain into purpose. She was planning to attend graduate school after completing her bachelor's degree, with the goal of becoming a licensed clinical social worker specializing in trauma recovery. I have something to tell you, Luna said, looking excited. The organization offered me a full-time position after I graduate. They want me to develop and run a new program for survivors who want to become advocates and service providers themselves. David felt thrilled for Luna. That's incredible. You'll be amazing at that. I was thinking. Luna continued, maybe you want to work on that program with me. You understand the support side of recovery as well as anyone, and you're good at creating systems that actually work for people. David didn't hesitate. I'd love to. We make a good team. As they talked about their plans for the future, both Luna and David realized that their unexpected meeting had led to exactly the lives they were meant to live. Luna had found her calling in helping other survivors, and David had discovered that his quiet nature and problem-solving skills were perfectly suited for creating supportive environments where healing could happen. You know what I'm most proud of, Luna said as the evening wound down. What's that? That night when I climbed through your window, I was looking for human warmth and safety. But what I found was so much more than that. I found my purpose, my strength, and one of the best, friendships.